let's begin the new Renegade episode 4, 3. I don't even know. I gotta check. But it's something that's been on my mind recently, and it's something that I've been thinking about for a while. It's the very fact that I feel like Messi winning the World Cup. I mean, soccer discourse in general, since Messi and Ronaldo has been a thing, has just been bad for the most part. And it has extended to other sports as well, The whole LeBron Jordan conversation. Now it's Mahomes and Brady. Now it's maybe could be McDavid and Gretzky. I don't even think that's going to be a thing, but there is a possibility. Maybe Bernard gets in that conversation. I don't think so, but maybe. Baseball, it's going to be Shohei. It's going to be Shohei and Babe Ruth, or maybe Barry Bonds if you're a 2000s or 90s guy. And I always felt like, I always was indifferent towards the conversation because I wanted to see greatness. I didn't want that whole thing to be tainted. But man, some of the lies that I have heard about Ronaldo, even other players Messi has played with, has been utterly shocking to me. Because, I remember this so vividly, right? I remember it was the 2014 World Cup. And I remember vividly people saying, this is Argentina's year. This is Argentina's year. And it didn't happen, right? And look at 2018, people were really, really pessimistic about that team, and they were proven right. But I mean, it's funny because, I never really root against a team. I was rooting against Man City, but I wasn't really, really rooting against them. I was like, can someone stop this team? Can anyone do it? No one did it, and for some reason, something really kind of pissed me off with that team. And it doesn't make any sense because, I mean, they have a lot of great players. They have a lot of they have a great coach. And here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? About the whole conversation. A lot of people have been trying to tear down Ronaldo for the longest of times. Ever since he honestly went on that 3P, even before then as well, because he dared to be a threat to Messi, right? He dared to win Ballon d'Ors in the years he actually deserved them. There were stretches where Ronaldo was just better, and I don't know why people act like that wasn't the case. But that's what happens when, you have something that's so tied up in legacy and destiny and faith and all this other nonsense. Let's be real, right? They were in the Argentinian team that won the World Cup was in penalty shootouts. If they lost either of them, if they lost against the Netherlands, for example, we're having a completely different conversation. We just are. Ronaldo would not be out of the conversation entirely now, would he? Right? But now, Ronaldo's going to have to win the Euros, go back to the Euro, win another Ballon d'Or, and win the World Cup as well for him to close the gap. But here's the thing, man. This whole Messi has no help bullshit I've been hearing for years now does not make any lick of sense. You look at those teams, objectively speaking, there was a reason why, ever since 2015, they were the favorites, or one of the three favorites. It was them, City, and Real Madrid, and you want to throw in Bayern Munich, go ahead. Those four teams were the favorites because they had great teams. It wasn't because of one guy, right? And for some people, well, that's why Messi's the GOAT, because one guy, he changed. No. Let's not play this game. Let's not pretend that Busquets is not one of the greatest midfielders of all time. Let's not pretend ever since Iniesta left, ever since Xavi left, They have not done much of anything. They've been to one semifinal. That's it. A bunch of round 16 exits, a bunch of quarterfinal exits, right? If you're a Messi fan and not actually a Barcelona fan, you want to hope that like they don't win the Champions League this year. Can you imagine, right? Because I remember when Messi almost left Barca for City. Thank God that didn't happen. And everyone's saying, oh my goodness, Barca's done. They're going to be like Arsenal. They're going to be like Milan. I'm like, no. They were contending before Messi, and they were contending after Messi. Now, will people go there because Messi played there? Absolutely. That's why Suarez went. That's why Alexis Sanchez went there. That's why all these other guys went there, right? Including Cesc Fabregas. But why are we pretending those teams were scrubs? Their words? We're going to pretend that Ter Stegen was not one of the best goalkeepers of the last 10 to 15 years? And that shouldn't be a hot take either. We're not going to pretend that Victor Valdez was, again, one of the best goalkeepers of his era. Because he was. No question about it. Right? Because I remember because if that was the case, then why did people say Barcelona has a better team than Real, player to player, even down to the coach? For most people, they may not remember that. But I remember that. I remember people saying, Neymar is better than Bale, Suarez is better than Benzema, Messi better than Ronaldo. Therefore, they're better. And you know what? For a time, that was true. But that wasn't really true either, right? Because why did Barcelona fall apart in those Champions League since 2015? Well, why did that happen? It's been 9 years. Like, I remember that whole run. And that whole run was amazing. It was incredible. One of the greatest things I have ever seen. But let's be real. Real was just better team. Because they had a much better mentality. I mean, it doesn't make any sense either. Because, last time I checked, Messi had 4 Champions Leagues. Right? And it's so funny. Because time and time again, when Messi lost in the national team for 2022, it was someone else's fault. It was someone else's fault. Oh, it's Higuain, it's Lavezzi, it's this guy, it's that guy, it's the coach. Maybe the responsibility should be on the guy that we all consider the god of football. Besides like Maradona and Pele. I'm not gonna get into those guys. That's a different conversation for another day. But like for some people, this is gonna sound like I'm hating. I'm gonna come clean. Messi is the GOAT, and there is a gap. There is. But the gap is not like the Grand Canyon. Ronaldo, if he wins the Euros, if he keeps up his form, yeah, he's back in the conversation now. Now there's a path for Ronaldo to be the GOAT for good. For some people, they're just not going to accept it. And people are saying, well, Messi and we all expected this to happen. Now, did I expect Messi to look so head and shoulders above the competition? No, I didn't. I'm gonna come clean with that. No, I didn't. But that should not be the surprise here, right? I still, when I said that Mahomes was the best athlete in the world, the best player in all team sports, a lot of people was like, whoa, what about Messi? Look, if Messi was the best, why the hell is he playing the MLS then? If that was the case. When you really look at the objective facts, Messi has not been the best player in the world for a little while now. It's been a couple years. I'm going to say 2021. Not even 2021. I'm going to say the last half of 2019. He had that title. Lewandowski took that title from him. And then it was kind of hot potato. Messi was in that. And then he wasn't. Then it was Mbappe. And then it was Haaland. And now it's Mbappe again. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. Because if you're going to use, he won a World Cup. Well, Mbappe won a World Cup. Mbappe, last 2 times he's been there, he's been into the final. Like the worst World Cup he's had, he lost in shootout while scoring a hat-trick. 4 goals in the finals. We're never going to see that ever again. Mbappe will demolish the World Cup scoring record. He will eventually demolish the Champions League scoring record. He will have titles upon titles. He hasn't won a Ballon d'Or, which kind of sounds kind of crazy, but he will rack up Ballon d'Ors. He will probably end up with 4 or 5. Mbappe will be the greatest French player to ever play the game. And it really will not be that close either. Right? Mbappe will be a top 5, hell, top 3 player of all time. I'm going to say that right now. If he keeps going on this pace, doesn't get hurt, keeps improving, who the hell is stopping him besides Haaland? Who? I'm looking around. I mean, PSG might win the Champions League this year. They've been looking pretty good in the Champions League this year. Granted, they could lose against Barcelona, which I wouldn't be shocked. I've seen this before. But even if that, then what? What are people going to use? Oh, Liga and suck. I mean, bro, La Liga was literally a 2-team league for a decade plus, except for like Atletico Madrid when they snuck in 2 titles. But like it was literally 2 teams, and Atletico Madrid was really 3 teams. 4th place was just up for grabs. You know? That's it. Is that a Farmers League? Because last time I checked, Messi was scoring 5-6 goals against Lecce, Granada. I mean, these teams are, besides Granada, most of these teams that Messi and Ronaldo ran up the score are not in the league anymore. I mean, some of these teams are bankrupt. And I'm not trying to dismiss their accomplishments. We have to add context here. We're gonna add context to Mbappe. We have to add context to Messi, right? And it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Well, Messi won I think he won 8 titles, 7 titles. Bro, Mbappe's gonna surpass that if he stays at PSG. So what are we gonna do here? Mbappe, for my money, Mbappe is the second greatest player in Liga in history. Already. Zlatan's to go, but Mbappe will pass him in the next year or 2. Let's just be real. Mbappe is already a top 45 player to ever play the game. If he wins Champions League Ballon d'Or, he'll move up to top 30 ever. Haaland is not far behind. I honestly, I put Haaland in my top 100 in the next couple of years if he keeps doing what he's doing. Right? And let's just be real. I mean, if Mbappe keeps doing what he's doing, there will be a point where an Mbappe versus Messi conversation will happen, and people are going to say, well, he lost. Well, Mbappe scored a hat trick in the final. It's not his fault that his team couldn't defend the last 20 minutes of the game. It's not his fault. And using that against him would be incredibly stupid. Same way people use, Brady is 2-0. Well, the first game he played, the Chiefs defense couldn't stop anybody. We knew that before the game. That's why people picked the Patriots to win. People were shocked that the Chiefs kept up with them, which didn't make any sense because we're one of the best offenses we have ever seen in any sport, period. Right? And the second time, I'll give you the second time. The Chiefs were the favorite. And yeah, but the O-line, right? And it wasn't like Brady threw for 500 yards. He threw for 200. He deserved the award, but it doesn't really tell much of anything either. So I just think it's funny to me, People like to kind of rewrite narratives. People like to kind of rewrite history just to benefit their guy, which I get it. I truly understand the sort of thought process to it. Doesn't mean it should be done, because that is the ultimate type of disservice to the guy that you're picking up. You have to rewrite things just to make them look good, which you're already the go. And here's my problem with this conversation, to me at least. I just find that if there ever was a Billie Eilish versus Michael Jackson conversation in the next 20 to 30 years, I just have a funny feeling that people will be more open to Billie being the GOAT than Mbappe being the GOAT. I'm being real. I love Michael Jackson's music. I grew up with his music. I still listen to him still. Even with all the stuff that he may have did, I still listen to him. Still. Maybe that's on me. Maybe I should delete some songs. I don't even know. But I just think that I just think that at some point, as time goes on, people will look at Messi and look at Ronaldo with a more objective lens. Let's just be real. We're living in this era, so whatever they do will always be elevated from whatever their past predecessors did in their time, because we're living in this time. We weren't living in the 60s and 70s where Cruyff was dominating. Weren't living in the 80s and 90s where Maradona was doing his thing. We weren't living in the 50s where Pele was doing his thing. And we're not in the 2000s where Brazilian Ronaldo was doing his thing. Ronaldinho, Lampard, Gerrard, all those dudes were doing it. Wayne Rooney, Ferdinand, United, Barca, Real. I mean, all those teams were doing their thing. AC Milan, too. How can I forget that team? Inter Milan, too. And maybe some Juventus sprinkled in there as well. It's a cycle. And I think people will look at Ronaldo's accomplishments, Cristiano Ronaldo's accomplishments, and they will be like, okay, why do people act like these two are so far apart? I have a funny feeling that's going to happen. And people will go, look back on those archives, look back at those comments, and laugh at them for being so hilariously misinformed and misintropied. Because I wrote this whole thing, right, about the whole conversation entirely. And first of all, I just it doesn't really make any sense to me, right? Because when we advance time, right? And I don't know if there's gonna be a world in the next 100 years. I mean, the way shit's going, I mean, it might not be a world. I don't know, man. We might be living in the metaverse. I don't know. I don't want to live in that reality. I'm gonna be real. But in the future, we're gonna look at guys like Aubameyang, Lukaku, Morata, Depay. I'm forgetting a couple other guys. Maybe even someone like Insigne. And we're like, why didn't those guys get the credit that they deserve? Dries Mertens, Dzeko, even a guy like Batshuayi. We're going to be looking at these guys' numbers, even Dybala, and saying, why did these guys get the hate that they got? Specifically Lukaku, Morata, and Depay. And more like Lukaku, Morata. Why did these guys get the hate? Why? Because, let's just be real. We looked at Messi, Ronaldo, and then we see a guy that reminds us of those two, and we're like, well, they blew it. Well, if they weren't so unfocused, they'll be... No, they weren't. That's why those two are so far above everybody, ever. It's just because that they sustained a level that we haven't seen before. They just did. And just trashing people's careers that they couldn't live up to those two just is silly to me. It really is. Look, is there a world where Lukaku is doing what Harry Kane is doing? Absolutely. But Lukaku has had a better career up to this point. Let's just be real. Up to this point. Unless, Bayern wins the Champions League. I picked them to do it this season, even with Tuchel and all that stuff. But that's besides the point. Morata has had a better career than most of these guys. Let's just be real. I mean, there's a world where Morata is the top scorer in Spain national team history. And there's a world he wins the Golden Boot this season. And in the future, we're like, why is this guy not more highly rated? What happened here? We're going to be looking at Lukaku's numbers. And we're like, how the hell is this guy hated on in the first place? And look, and I understand why, But that's the thing. Is that when you rewrite narrative, you constantly keep rewriting everything, everybody else is going to be discredited along the way. You're going to make your era look like a joke because you can't handle the fact that somebody else might be better than your guy. Let's just be real. That's just the facts, right? And granted, I'm more higher on Mbappe than quite a few people. I just think the narrative rewriting of his career, and he's 25 years old, right? Let's just be real. I mean, if he wins the Champions League and the Ballon d'Or, he's already completed football by the time he's 25 years old. Already. Messi almost did that whole thing, but he was almost 30 in the 2014 World Cup. He's almost 30 during that time. But, here's my take on this. this whole pod thing should not be me trashing Messi. It shouldn't. But the facts are the facts. We have to apply context. We're gonna apply context to Haaland and Mbappe and everybody else. Right? We're gonna do that. We should at least do that with Messi. Everybody does that with Ronaldo. Like Ronaldo had this, he had that. Have you seen the Portugal national team for most of his career? Have you guys seen that? Nani has more than 100 caps. Any other national team, he has like 50 at best. I love Nani. He's had an incredible career. He's a fantastic player. But Nani is not a 100+ cap player. Quaresma is not a, well, he had the talent to be that, but he didn't. So, sorry guys. We don't say anything to that. We just don't. You know? We just don't say that. We just don't. We just assume that, like, because of Ronaldo, and they haven't really won anything besides the Euros. It's like, well, you know, he really didn't really do anything that substantial, which for me is BS. Right? And let's just be real. Here's my final thing. Again, it's a very, very short episode. Sorry, guys. I have to get a lot of things off my chest. And to the audience that's listening to this, I would challenge you to not do that with your favorites. I'm not gonna for me, I'm not gonna rewrite narratives to say that Billy's the GOAT. All I'm gonna say is look what she has done during the time that she was making music. That's it. If she gets to that point, if she gets to that type of level, I'll say the same thing for Mahomes. I said, look, I'm not gonna rewrite narratives. I'm not gonna pretend that all these other people were trash because they lost to Mahomes. Right? There have been some damn good quarterbacks that they have lost to, that Mahomes has beat, and that should be the case. You know? So I hope everyone has a good day. And I will see you very soon.